Steeler Fury. SteelPerch.com.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Pittsburgh Steelers Show on your SteelPerch.com podcast. I am your host, Bradshaw DeBen, a.k.a. Wil Masisak. You might know me as Accidental Zen on Twitter, unless you have me blocked like half of the universe. And with me, again tonight, as always, since the very, very beginning, he is somewhere in the South. His name is FC, also goes by Dom. He's with us. How are you, sir?
I am building a motherfucking ark. It has rained nonstop here for like 10 days.
Yeah, like you were complaining about the drought. Well, here you go. Here's some water.
There you go.
Here's some water. Also with us from somewhere in the greater Midwest. You know, there's a debate about what is the Midwest. Is Pittsburgh the Midwest? For people think it is. You know, it's not. But anyway, from representing the Midwest in a city that has almost Power 5 football, because they're in the Big Ten. He's in Indianapolis. His name is Jeremy Kohlman, also known as Smith is Smoking. He's with us. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good with your pretend college football. And also with us, a fan of a team that is likely to get blown out by the B team from Alabama. His name is SteelPerch. He's with us. How are you, sir?
Yet again, undefeated.
Yeah. By the way, if the rains make it your way, you know, it might be good for fishing. It might be perch like in your backyard.
It's going to be nice this weekend. Nice and dry here.
Oh, good. That's good for football, I hear. So in case you joined us or didn't join us last week, shame on you, first of all. Secondly, we're going to start the program tonight with an explanation from SteelPerch, who correctly predicted that the Steelers would pull out a victory in Buffalo. Oh, wait, no, he didn't. He predicted they would lose by 3 touchdowns. Perch, I'll give it to you. What happened? What happened?
Well, first of all, you're misrepresenting what I predicted. I predicted a 30-20 game, which by my math is not 3 touchdowns. Thank you very much. You know, I think the biggest thing that happened was a very rare mistake-free game from the Steelers. And all those moving parts that were in the secondary didn't have the mistakes and issues that I was worried that they might have. I mean, the guys that they put in, and they played really well. They had a really good scheme and played really well, and Josh Allen helped them out, missing a few throws here and there, and the offense was about as pathetic as what I thought it would be. But like they typically do, they make enough plays when it matters to pull out a win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, FC. I kind of thought the offense, for as badly as we're maligning them, they didn't put up points in the first half, but they started to get it going a little bit late in the first half. And I thought in the second half, actually, the offense was pretty good. What's your take on this victory for the Steelers as it portends for what's to come?
Defense and special teams, outside the opening kickoff, look pretty sharp for the special teams. I think that Joe Schobert, in a way, was a big signing, which you're going to have to look at the game and not the numbers to realize. I think that a lot of the communication, a lot of the lining up type of stuff, and some of the corrections were able to be done on the field by Schobert. I've seen him on at least 5 to 6 occasions, basically losing his shit with various different players lining them up right. I think the offensive line was absolutely hideous in the first half. I think they adjusted to the speed of the game a little bit in the second half, and there was moments of I don't want to use the word brilliance, but solid play. It was an ugly game versus a team that is considered an AFC favorite that you want on the road. So, it's a big win.
Yeah, I don't think you can complain too much about style points in a victory like that. But, it feels like a typical Steelers week 1 game where it takes them a little while to get going. The defense had to, I think it actually may have helped them to have that big kickoff return at the beginning of the game because they had to kind of turn it on immediately. But Jeremy, one thing my takeaway from the game was Steelers didn't blitz. They rushed 4 or 3 for basically the entire game. I think they blitzed one time, which is unbelievable considering how much they blitzed the last couple of years. And they, in order to make that really stick, they got home with 4. But more importantly, their secondary, I thought, did a great job of, basically understanding where the offense was trying to go with the ball, give them a little bit of a peek. Like they maybe, when they pre-snap, they would line up in a way that made it look like the play was going to work. And then they would jump into position post-snap and give a relatively young quarterback post-snap read that was really difficult for him. What did you make of the Steelers defense? How did they manage to shut down the Bills?
Well, I think a big part of it is, like you just said, when you rush 4, you get to drop 7. So, they did not give up easy passing windows to Josh Allen. Even on his touchdown throw, Cam Sutton was draped all over. I think it was Gabriel Davis that got the touchdown for Buffalo. But, they were sticking with guys. James Pierre was sticking with Stephon Diggs. They gave up some catches to Diggs here and there or whatever, but he never really got going. Like FC predicted last week, once he gets going, sometimes he just is a cumulative snowball and tough to stop. But Pittsburgh did a great job containing him, really containing the entire offense, really only gave up a few big plays here or there. And, basically allowed 16 points to an offense supposed to be one of the biggest and best in the AFC. So it was nice to see the defense show up so quickly week 1. And it was also great to see how guys like Wormley and Buggs were playing such good football this early, mixing it in with Melvin Ingram, Highsmith, Watt. They were getting after Josh Allen. They were not making his life easy. So, just really awesome to see the defense be ready to play right away.
To your point, FC, about Schobert, not only was the leadership important, but I think right from the beginning of the game, having Schobert in coverage, I can tell you, made a huge difference. I saw a breakdown, Chris Sims did a breakdown this week of the first third down play that the Steelers showed to the Bills immediately after that long kickoff return. And the key to the whole coverage scheme basically was that they showed blitz with Devin Bush with Schobert lined up behind him as if he was going to, play in the zone behind it in the, kind of the hook curl area. And instead he was in man-to-man against Gabriel Davis, a thing that, oh my God, Steeler Nation, a linebacker is covering a wide receiver, except for that he carried him on a deep corner route like it was nothing, Joe Schobert, you and I agree it's a big addition, but it doesn't, it all goes down the line from there. It's like dominoes. If you have one guy that can cover better, it seems to improve the rest of the way down the line. Correct?
Correct. And I think that Devin Bush, I like to hammer. He's good with, I have higher expectations of him in coverage. Melvin Ingram dropped a bunch. He's actually very good in coverage, was very good for the Chargers in coverage. And Highsmith dropped at times. So those 3-man, when the Steelers were coming with 3 and dropping 8, a lot of times, we were dropping an outside linebacker out. Cam Hayward, he is so efficient without being splashy at times. I think he's taken for granted a lot by even Steeler Nation. We missed 2 at 11 sacks. There's no getting, around it. But we really didn't miss them against the Bills, despite the Bills averaging almost 5 yards a carry, which I'm sure we're going to get into. It's the Steelers' defense is now, I view them as a bunch of grizzled vets where they're not going to be as many mental errors, and the physical parts are very good.
Yeah, Perch, I totally agree with FC about the quality of the players on the defense, and a guy like Cam Hayward or TJ Watt, or Mel Ingram or Schobert. These are high quality defensive players, and that's really going to be the Steelers' bread and butter. In this game, I felt like that we might not see the same strategy from the Steelers defense every week. It's a week to week thing because I felt like that quarterback could probably have taken some dump off throws that would help him move the chains and keep the ball. And probably they could have run the ball a little bit more. They had some success doing that. Do you think that the Bills kind of psyched themselves out of this game because the Steelers defense didn't let them do what they allowed them to do last year?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it where, Buffalo was going to spread you out and throw the ball over the field, and the Steelers were playing, 2 down linemen. I mean, they didn't blitz the whole game. They had, 1 or 2 blitzes the entire game. They basically were just, almost daring them to run. And Buffalo, I think, could have gashed the Steelers on the ground just because of the personnel the Steelers had in the game. It's almost like they just had a game plan. They were going to spread us out and take advantage of some of our, younger players, replacing 2 starters in the secondary, and you weren't quite sure who our slot corner was going to be. And I think they just thought they were going to feast on it. But, the Steelers had a good game plan, and Buffalo really probably could have and probably should have taken advantage of some more runs out of the pass sets more than what they did. Because late in the game, they had that one drive where they went down and scored, and they were running 5, 10, 12 yards a carry. They could have got more of that if they really stuck to it.
I mean, Jeremy, I just feel like if this same defense is facing the Browns, they're playing it completely differently. They're then trying to dare them to throw it, right? They're stacking the line. So I guess they're capable of doing many things, which we should be happy about. But yeah, the run defense thing, I feel like, I don't know, are you concerned about this? I felt like in the whole preseason, since the playoff game really last year, that I've been concerned about run defense.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have been the Buffalo Bills, I would have been running it, Wormley every time he was at in the ball game. I definitely felt like Buffalo felt like they were going to, try to let Josh Allen win the game for him. Where honestly, the things that have killed the Steelers defense in the past is an extremely balanced attack with play action, because it gets more unpredictable. Steelers are very good when they can shut you down in one and focus on one, just the pass game like they did this week. We were daring them to run, like you said. But when there's more of a balance, that's when you see our linebackers, running behind the tight end when the tight end's going down the seam and getting plays. I mean, I can't remember how many times I've seen our guys chase Rob Gronkowski, down the field, and they're out of position. It's that's something I would have tried a little more with Dawson Knox, who is a pretty athletic tight end. So I was also surprised kind of by the lack of commitment to the running game. So
I mean, Dawson Knox isn't much of a blocker. That's the difference with Gronkowski.
Sure.
You can't assume that Gronkowski is just going to go out if he's in there, right? So I'm sure that accounts for something different. FC, you can use examples from this Buffalo game, but let's talk a little bit about a concern for me coming this week with the Los Angeles Raiders coming to town, and that is the Steelers' right tackle Chuks Okorafor against Max Crosby as a sort of a down-to-down matchup. Are you going to lose some sleep over that this week?
Is that for me?
Yep.
No, I'm not. I figure they're going to give help to Chucks. That means that Damore and Crow on the seat, that Damore is going to have to, man up against Crow on the seat. What I think a lot of people, I watched the Monday Night Football, and I actually switched over to the Manning brothers, which I'm going to say this, I strongly suggest it, because the two of them had fun, but they actually did a great job announcing the game. Jonathan Hankins, their defensive tackle from the Raiders, was one of the main problems. Crosby loves to run the arc, and he loves to jump the snap. He has no counter move, and he doesn't come back inside. So I think with a tight end, if you even just line up a tight end there, you're going to force Crosby to come up Chuck's chest, and that's just not going to happen. John Gruden is going to do what he does. He loves his West Coast. He loves his West Coast principles. He loves his fullback. He loves his 3 wide receiver sets, and he is not going to help attack. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to put out a sidecar out there. He's not going to line up the tight end, because their tight end has absolutely no interest in blocking, and Darren Waller, actually their second tight end from LSU, Moreau, actually has no interest in blocking. So I am not as concerned about Crosby as I am possibly about Jonathan Hankins, which would surprise some people, but interior pressure is what really bothers Ben at this point. Ben can finagle the outside rush. He can step up, do his little pirouette. So, no, I am not overly concerned about that matchup. I'm actually a little bit more concerned about Dan Moore and Carl Nassib because Dan Moore seemed to have issues adjusting to the NFL speed at first. But as the game went on, he seemed to be a lot better.
Yeah, Perch, I felt like, with the six rookies, as it were, for the Steelers, that's a big storyline because they won with those guys. But I do think FC is right, not just with Moore, but I felt even Najee Harris, I felt took, it was obviously taking him a minute to adjust to the speed. It was a little slow to turn, a little slow to get in his route, slow to get his hands up. That's got to get better, right?
Yeah, Najee, he kind of disappointed me on that one little pass down near the goal line where he kind of got ankle tackled. You kind of expect a guy with his, power to run through some arm tackles down there. But, I mean, last week, did any of us talk about Trey Norwood going into the game thinking he was essentially going to be a starter and a major, role player in that game? It was amazing how much they trusted those guys, and they put them all through that lineup. And even James Pierre, who's really a second-year undrafted guy, which kind of brings me into this week's game. I don't know how much time you guys spent watching that Raiders game on Monday night. You guys probably all watched
it all, yeah.
Darren Waller, 20 targets in that game? I'm almost thinking James Pierre is basically going to be an extra defensive back on the field, no matter, just kind of shadowing him. I mean, it's something like that because the guy's a receiver. He's not a real tight end. He's a wide receiver. You talk about him being the same size and athletic profile as like Chase Claypool. You've got to put one of your, longer corners on that guy. So that'll be an interesting storyline this week where, how are we going to try to contain Waller because, boy, they're going to throw it to him a ton.
Yeah, I wonder, though, Jeremy, I'm kind of thinking that they may try to put some Joe Schobert on him, especially considering he's running his routes. Like, if it's not red zone, he's going to run his routes from the slot or from the end of the line, making it maybe a little bit easier to have a linebacker cover him. If you have a good coverage linebacker in the red zone, okay, yeah, then you don't want Waller to be spread out wide with Joe Schobert on him. But I'm wondering if you think if it's more likely that what Perch is saying is true, that they'll dedicate a corner to him, or they'll just pass him around like they do normally, or even Trey Edmonds for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a little bit of everything. I think I'm
sorry, Terrell Edmonds. We don't want the running back covering him. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, we don't. I mean, we've got guys that can stay with him, like you said. Terrell Edmonds. He's a big athletic guy. One of the reasons we drafted him was because of his athletic profile. Theoretically, he should be able to stick with Waller a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of Minkah Fitzpatrick over the top of him just to take away the middle of the field. And that's where Waller does a lot of his damage. Like FC said, he's not going to line up on the line so he can get that free release. He's got no interest in blocking or being a really physical tight end. So I expect the Steelers to do several different things just so Derek Carr doesn't get comfortable with one matchup where he feel like he could or could not exploit it.
Yeah, I could see that. FC, I thought Minkah was really successful they basically they gave a cover 2 look ahead of the snap, and then they kind of played cover 1 with Minkah coming as a robber downhill. That also seems like a pretty good strategy against a Darren Waller.
It is. I'm going to utter this phrase, and every time I utter it, I regret it the following week. I thought Emmett was excellent last week. Another guy that was quietly solid. A lot of these zones that, where you have Schobert, dropping 25, 30 yards in the cover 2. When we showed cover 2 shells, wasn't Devin Bush jumping. That was Joe Schobert. Edwards came off the hash, covered 70% of the field. He showed things that he has not been able to do in the past. And the reason that I think it was never a question of athleticism, it was a question of processing and trusting. And I think that he is now so familiar with the defense. He knows it inside and out to where he doesn't think he can just play. And I think he is a player that might really shine bright in the next 5 to 6 years. He showed sparks in the past, but he was just ready to just boom go. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that goes overlooked, and I love that the media overlooks it, is I read on ESPN Plus. The Steelers are the first NFL team that have 5 players that have Wonderlic scores over 40. And now they couldn't name all 5, but you can obviously sit here and process, and Witherspoon, Dobbs are definitely 2. I don't think Schobert's one, but the way that this defense, he's been here for, 5 weeks? And
yes.
He seems to have it completely mastered. And that's just nuts to me. Norwood, the kid from Oklahoma, is another supposedly super smart guy. So, I believe that over 3 years at Oklahoma, limited starter, I believe he was a part of or created 16 or 17 turnovers, including the COVID season that was shortened. That's pretty incredible, number.
Yeah, and it didn't look like he was doing it from his athleticism. So, I mean, it's just obviously he was in the right place because he knew where to be, He was he in the right place out of luck and got 6 picks, or was he in the right place because he knew how to play?
The Jack Cam guy made a career out of that in Pittsburgh. He was pretty good.
That's true. Jeremy, in terms of what the Raiders will try to do with the Steelers to attack them from the offensive side of the ball, they're going to look at that tape of what the Steelers did to Buffalo. Are they going to get some different looks from the Steelers? What would you expect the Steelers to do, and the Raiders to do to try to counter it?
Offensively, you mean?
Yeah, Raiders on offense, Steelers defense.
Yeah, I mean, I expect Pittsburgh to try to run the ball a little more. I don't really felt like, especially kind of once the offense kind of got going, that we weren't really focused on running. We were more focused on short passes, getting guys in space, trying to make plays. I'd like to see some screen fakes. The Raiders corners are very aggressive, not always great with the double move. Trayvon Mullen had trouble keeping up with Darren Waller. So, I mean, that's a matchup I'd like to exploit. I think Mullen's good, but I think the Steelers receivers are just better. Right. And really, just as a group, I don't think their secondary is all that great. And they're more, especially Abram is more of a big time tackler. You saw him make a lot of big hits in that game, but you didn't see him do a lot in coverage. So I'd try to exploit some single matchups where those guys are put in tough situations to make plays on the ball.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was asking it the other direction. The Raiders on offense attacking the Steelers defense. That's the part.
Oh, well, my bad. Excuse me there.
No, that's okay. I'll go to Perch because we lost him for a second. Perch, how will the Raiders offense? How they're going to look at what the Steelers did against Buffalo, and you saw what the Raiders did on Monday night. How will the Raiders attack the Steelers team? In your opinion, what would you do if you're them for your game plan?
I think a lot of what the Raiders did last week, where they spread the field out and they throw to it. But, that's the thing about Gruden is he'll be a little bit more committed to the run. But that he certainly can, and something I don't know who you are. If I was playing the Steelers, I would try to spread them out and either take advantage of, a safety or a slot corner, and then, mix in a lot of runs. Because when the Steelers get, kind of spread out with personnel, it's easy to run on.
Yeah, I mean, FC, I guess, I don't know. The key to this run thing, especially with Wormley in there, do you feel like the runs that they gave up against the Bills were just, well blocked, and you tip your hat to the offense, or do you think there's something inherently, troubling about the Steelers' run defense?
I think it's too early to say it's troubling about the Steelers' run defense, because we did play a lot of two-man defensive line, played a ton of dime, played what I consider quarter defensive packages where, you didn't have a large number of bigs on the field. The Las Vegas Raiders, Jesus Christ, that sounds horrible coming out of my mouth, are going to be missing definitely both their starting offensive guards, Richie Incognito and Good, this week, and possibly their starting center. I'm not going to talk too much about Alex Leatherwood. I thought that he was pretty average at Alabama. I don't think he can play tackle in the NFL. I believe he should play guard. And I'm not a very big fan of Colton Miller, their starting left tackle. So I think the Raiders have major issues across the offensive line coming up this week where they may have two guys off the practice squad starting at offensive guard and a guy, their third interior offensive lineman, possibly starting at center. So,
and they're going to face, arguably at least the second best defensive tackle in the NFL, maybe.
Right. And I mean, Tyson Alau's not too bad. Carlos Davis may be down from the Steelers. I think Isaiah Buggs gets a really rough breakdown by even Steeler fans. I thought that he was one of the few guys other than, Cam Hayward that was showing any interior penetration. I think that he forced the Josh Allen, the one sack that Melvin Ingram got. I believe it was, Isaiah Buggs, forced him, back right to his feet, and the same thing can be said about Alonzo Highsmith. I think that the Raiders are going to attempt to be dedicated to the run. Missing offensive lineman, Josh Jacobs is not at 100%. The one thing I will say is the Raiders have an actually decent, trio of running backs. I mean, they're not going to blow you away with names, but if Josh Jacobs goes down, they have two or three other backs that are NFL proven enough that they can find holes. The question is, I don't think they're, with the backup offensive linemen that are going to definitely be in the game, definitely the two starting guards. I don't think that they're going to be able to, get block them up front to, force the Steelers to, maybe have to bring 8 or 9, which would allow Carr easy matchups.
Yeah, I guess that. Well, to me, the other thing, Perch, is that Jacobs, was basically run in for one play, running the ball, and then had to come out of the game because it was hurting so bad. He's got a turf toe injury, I guess. So I don't know. Where do you figure that leaves the Ravens' run game? Is it going to be something we have to worry about in this game?
He made a few explosive plays in that the game against Baltimore. He's still got a pretty good defense. The Raiders' offense is just so deep at receiver. I think they have 5 or 6 different receivers in that game. If you count Waller as a receiver, which we probably should. They had about 6 different receivers. You got Zay Jones coming off the bench as your number 5, number 6 target. There, it's just like I said. The Raiders' O-line isn't that great, and now they're really injured. They've got, a couple guys, both guards. Incognito hasn't practiced, didn't play last week and hasn't practiced at all this week. And their starter at right guard, it looks like he's out too. So there's going to be issues there.
Good is out for the season. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, with that, that's tough. And they played, an extra quarter, time on a Monday night game, and now they're going to travel across country, play a game. I mean, that's they got so much working against them that if it wasn't for the Mike Tomlin and Roethlisberger's shitty record against the Raiders franchise, you would think this would be have this one in the bag.
Yep. But to be fair, the Steelers' defense has been consistently terrible against the Raiders. As bad as Roethlisberger has been at times, the Steelers defense takes the cake, man. They give up over 30 to the Raiders twice in a stretch where they only gave up 30 about 5 times total.
Terrell Pryor.
Terrell Pryor. Oh my God. And then the game where Ben got knocked out and what's his name? Laundry Jones. Yes. Sorry. Couldn't remember. Came in the game. It was just ugly. Sorry to remind you, everybody. Let's go to the
X-ray machine game.
Yeah. The X-ray machine game. We've got a whole host of issues with the Raiders. That's for sure. Jeremy, Steelers offense, you saw, what they did in the first part of the game. You saw what they did in the later sections of the game where they looked better. What do you if you're taking them into practice this week and trying to gear them up for this game against the Raiders, what is it that you're looking to do in terms of stuff that you have ability to work on during a week? Slightly different game plans, slightly different help for guys. What would you do to try to make this offense work a little bit better?
Well, like you said, in the first half, I felt like we were kind of back in that offense we had last year where Ben was getting the ball out quick, a lot of quick passes. And, in the second half, we started going vertical a little more, and it opened up things, in the ground game a little bit. It opened up just bigger plays in general, and that's especially where I'd take advantage of the Raiders. I already mentioned I feel like we've got matchups, especially from a receiving aspect, where I feel like, several of our wide receivers, Deontay Johnson, Claypool, even Freiermuth down the middle, Ebron, they have advantages going vertical against these guys, where the Raiders were a solid team this past week in run defense. They did give up a lot through the air, and that's where my focus would be this week.
Yeah, and Perch, I made fun of Penn State a little bit earlier, so I'll say something positive you may not expect to come out of my mouth, and that is I thought Pat Freiermuth acquitted himself pretty well. He didn't have a lot of damage as a receiver in the game or in the red zone, but he had at least 3, maybe 4 blocks that were such good blocks that I noticed them during the course of the game. It's like you got to have a pretty good block to be able to jump off the screen like that. And I felt like particularly the one on the Claypool sweep.
Yeah, he put Tre'Davious White about 20 yards into if you watch that, he kept blocking him. He almost got a penalty because when they were out of bounds, he was blocking him to the bench. Yeah, but he ran that dude about 15, 20 yards across the field and just erased him from the play.
And what was maybe even more impressive to me, Perch, was that it was not an easy block to get to for Freiermuth. Like he had to get the hook him basically, and in order to get there, he had to cover maybe 3 gaps to get around him and get to his outside. I thought that was really impressive for a rookie in his first game. I had my doubts about if his blocking would transfer to the NFL, but one thing you could see on tape was Freiermuth against the defensive back is a total mismatch. It was a mismatch in college. It continues to be here. So anyway, praise for someone from Penn State coming from me. I just wanted to lay that out for you, Perch, make you feel a little better about your prediction.
Yeah, you just got to keep old Carl Nassib out of your B gap this week, if you know what I'm saying.
No, it's the A gap. It's the A gap for Carl Nassib. Come on, Perch, you're slipping.
Dirty.
Think about it. Okay. It feels like FC, if they can figure out a way to cohere their offensive line, if they can get them to be cohesive, that it's the magic ticket for pretty much everything, right?
Here's the thing. Dan Moore is going to be good in the run game as the left tackle. He ain't going to be great. He's going to be good. Patrick Green, you guys mentioned the reverse to Claypool. I want you guys to go back because everyone's going to say, Kendrick Green is grand and he didn't block anybody. That's really not true. Kendrick Green snapped the ball and he folded a defensive tackle. He then hustled to the point and found an angle where he ran 30 yards down the field and looks like he didn't block nobody. But here he made a great block where Chase Claypool's great job running the ball. If he cuts that back, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
And I think the Steelers' offensive line will say they were at D, which is fair against the Bulls. I think they may be a C- or a C+ versus the Raiders. I think you're going to continue to see improvement. I'm going to tell you this. Trey Turner is the first Steelers offensive lineman that I can think of that plays with a legitimate, nasty disposition. Major Vincent, who was not very good, but he at least was violent all the time. And offensive and defensive linemen are Neanderthal, Cretan, bug squasher, stupid people for the most part. And the more tough guys you have, the better that offensive line generally plays. And I think that Trey Turner, being the papa bear of that group, is going to probably rub off on guys. And Kendrick Green already plays with a little bit of an edge.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's good. That's going to get Najee Harris going. Fairman destroyed Matt Milano 3 or 4 times, who is a very good, yet overpaid middle linebacker. He also put Edmonds, not the Steelers Edmonds, but the Bills Edmonds, on his keister. A little bit after the whistle and got away with it. I like it.
Right.
Okay.
I knew you'd appreciate that.
Go with the whistle.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see improvements. He's been healthy. Got to remember the triplets that we have outside, plus Fairmouth, Eric Ebron's injured. Who would ever thunk that? And the big difference is we have a home run hitter in the backfield, Najee Harris. Carrying the ball, catching the ball.
Yeah, if the offensive line gets it together, sky's the limit, So I'll say this though, they're not that bad. I mean, even this week they had their problems, but let's put it this way. I'll ask you this, Jeremy, and I'll make this the wrap up point for this segment. If the Steelers offensive line of 2008 when they won the Super Bowl was maybe a 3. Where is the Steelers offensive line of 2021 based on the one game that you've seen? If the 2008 Super Bowl winning line was a 3,
I mean, I think they're at least a 6.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like,
God, that offensive line for that Super Bowl run was the worst set of misfits out there to win a Super Bowl.
Arnell Stapleton, Justin Hartwig.
Yeah, I mean,
when Willie Colon is your best lineman, you're in some deep shit.
And I'm like, I'm in the fucking Hall of Fame.
Yikes. Hey, listen, we'll come back and get your Steelers predictions, which may or may not be on point. And in the meantime, let's do a little pick segment brought to us by
Because Bail Bonds, Mike Perry, Dean Blandino, and the Manning brothers, which I can't believe. Watch them on Monday Night Football. Turn off that drunk Brian Greasy. Listen to the Manning brothers.
Yeah, I thought that.
And by Jeremy, who can be found on Sunday morning, 10:30, LA 10 a.m. I can't remember the call letters.
No,
it's a KLAA radio at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific.
There you go. The Extra Point. I even know the name of it.
The Extra Point.
Always a sponsor of the show. Hey, let's just to make Perch happy, let's throw a college game in the mix this week. What do you say, Perch?
I'm going to be honest.
This needs to be a weekly thing. And it should be at least 2 college games.
Well, because we want to get you. First, there are 2 reasons to do this. First of all, we want to give you a chance, Perch, to do a little better. So giving a college game is will hopefully help you out a little bit. And secondly, it gets the degenerate gambler some reason to listen to the show during the pick segment because they live for this kind of thing.
I think I only missed 1 game last week before you insult my pick again.
I think everybody went undefeated other than the Bills fucking game.
Well, speaking of degenerate gamblers, I'll start with UFC. Give us the college game we're going to pick.
How about we go with 2 games that we picked? Why don't we pick the Penn State-Auburn game, and why don't we pick the Florida-Alabama game in the Swamp?
Oh, there you go. Okay, right on. I'll go first because I know the least about college football teams. I pay attention to players, and if it's a player, it happens to be a team of a player that I'm interested in seeing. I see them more. I know that I'll see plenty of Alabama players, so I don't watch them a whole lot during the regular season. So that's my caveat. I think I never ever pick Florida to win anything important, but I just have this feeling that Florida kind of has it together this year a little bit, like their quarterback somewhat. And if you're going to get Alabama, I think you're going to get them early in the season with when they don't have all of their starting guys back from previous years. So was Florida's getting points in this game, are they not?
Oh, Florida is getting 14.5 points, I believe, in the swamp against Alabama.
Yeah, so I'll take Florida and the 14.5. Maybe they might even pull off an upset. And the other game was Auburn at Penn State. I don't care what the spread is. Auburn is winning this game. I know it's a whiteout, and everybody loves James Franklin, and he's on his way to Southern California, blah, blah, blah. But no, I think Auburn wins that game. How about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll start off with the Auburn-Penn State game. Yeah, I mean, Penn State hasn't looked that good against Big Ten opponents so far this year. You know, they beat up on, Ball State from the MAC last week. They're getting the SEC this week. Some legitimate athletes. Sean Shivers or Shavers, I can't remember his name for Auburn. That kid's electric. He's electric. I'm taking Auburn in that game for sure. And then it's definitely Bama. It's always Bama until proven otherwise. I'll take Bama winning by, 14 or whatever the spread is. They've looked very good so far. They're the class of college football. Until they're dethroned, I'm never picking against them.
Yeah, that's fair enough. How about you, FC?
This proves how big of a piece of shit I am, and you can say it, Perch. I'm going to take the Penn State Nittany Lions versus Auburn in lovely State College during that whiteout. Jacobs, linebacker, Penn State. If you don't know who I'm talking about right now, I think you're going to on Saturday evening if you watch that game. He's every bit the player that Micah Parsons was, who I was a fan of. And I'm going to take Florida to cover, and I'm going to say something surprising. I cannot remember his name. Florida plays two quarterbacks. Their second quarterback, that's a freshman, 6'6", 250. Dan Mullen says is not only the best quarterback he's ever coached, he's the best player he's ever coached. And Dan Mullen's been around some superstars. And I watched him play. I think he has a total of 16 college plays. Between throwing and running, I believe he averages about 21 yards per touch. He's incredible. And for the people that are like this Florida backup quarterback, he's incredible. I'm going to take Florida to cover but lose to Alabama.
Gotcha. Okay, how about you, Perch?
Well, there's only one team from Alabama going to be winning this weekend, and it is the team from Alabama. You don't bet against Tom Brady, and you don't bet against the Crimson Tide. So I think they win and cover comfortably. We'll go 35-10, something like that. The other game, I'm not picking against Penn State. I'm going to summon the ghosts of Saquon Barkley and Tony Hunt, Blair Thomas, Curtis Enos, DJ Dozier, Lydell Mitchell, Keyshawn Carter. Come on, guys. You got to get pumped for this one. Penn State's going to win that game by, we'll go 6. I'm going to go 30-24. Penn State's defense is legit. FC mentioned one of the guys that's on that defense. They are SEC quality, probably better than most of the SEC, almost every defense in the SEC. I think they're up there with anybody in college football defensively. It'll be, their offense is still a little bit shaky, but they'll do enough to win. Penn State to win and cover.
I don't know. It's also the school of Trace McSorley. I think the thing I will say about the Penn State-Auburn game, it could revive the Heisman candidacy of Bo Nix. That's all.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but it just sounded fun to say in an alternate universe kind of way. Quickly, how about let's we'll each take an NFL game. I'll give you your choice. Start with you, Jeremy. Buffalo, Miami, San Francisco, Philly, Rams, Indy, Baltimore, KC. What do you like?
You got to repeat those again. I'm sorry. You threw like 4 at me, and I was.
Yeah, no, you got to be ready. Just kidding. Buffalo, a 3-point favorite at Miami. San Francisco, 5.5 favorite at Philly. Rams getting a point in Indianapolis. And the Ravens and Chiefs, I didn't see the line. Maybe FC knows.
Yeah, I like that Bills-Miami game.
4.5, I believe.
The KC's favored by 4.5 at Baltimore, yeah?
Right.
Okay, so anyway, you're going to take the which one? The Buffalo-Miami.
Yeah, Buffalo-Miami. Yeah, I think Miami wins that game. That defense is legit. They're very, very good.
See, I'd say that except for I think for Buffalo, they're like, well, at least it's not Pittsburgh's defense. You know what I mean? But maybe. How about you, Perch? Which game you like out of that bunch?
Let's see. I'm going to take Ravens. 3.5 points to me doesn't seem nearly enough.
So 5.5.
The Ravens.
5.5 for the Ravens. They're getting 5.5.
Really?
Yeah.
The line the most recent line I had seen was 3.5. The Chiefs were giving 3.5, but regardless, I think the Chiefs win that by over a touchdown. 10 points, something like that. The Ravens got some issues there. I mean, they're beat up with the running backs. I don't think their offensive line is as good as you'd like. Still got more of a running than a passing attack, and their defense doesn't have the teeth that it used to. So, again, give me the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs win by 10.
Here's what you need to know about the Baltimore offensive line. They have Alejandro Villanueva starting at right tackle, and probably their backup plan for right tackle was Tyree Phillips, who I think they lost for the season or for at least for 8 weeks or something. So, so they lost their starting right guard, who was their backup right tackle, and their right tackle is probably not an NFL player right now. So, yeah, they got issues, all right. And they're on running back number 5 or whatever.
Ronnie Stanley might not play that game either.
Yeah, that's not a good look. But they
were talking about Villanueva moving to left tackle for this game.
But Chris Jones is really the problem anyway. When you play Kansas City's defense, if you can't handle Chris Jones in the middle, you're in trouble. FC, that leaves you with either Rams getting a point at Indianapolis or San Francisco giving 5.5 at Philadelphia.
I will start off by saying I agree with my cohorts 2 picks, and I will take the Rams minus the point, and since you were so nice, I will take the Eagles as well. I think the Rams with Matthew Stafford might be really interesting because Robert Woods didn't do shit in the first game, and all of a sudden here comes Van Jefferson, Sean Jefferson's little boy, showing out to be a star. Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford seem to have a great relationship. And I like what I see in Jalen Hurts. He actually showed me improvement.
Yeah, I feel certain that I disagree with you about San Francisco-Philly. I like San Francisco giving up the points. I think Philly played a great game last week. I don't expect Jalen Hurts to be particularly consistent, and I feel like what San Francisco does well is more repeatable for them. And it's only when if they're going to go up against a really good defense with a really good quarterback, it can reveal some of the flaws that they have. But I feel like they can go to Philly and that run game is sustainable. There's, get the scheming guys open. I mean, they do that really well. Say again?
Did you see any of the Philadelphia game?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Hargrave is unfucking blockable.
Yeah, no, he's...
Hargrave, former Pittsburgh Steeler, he could easily have 6 sacks in that game.
No, I think
Atlanta, is that bad?
Well, I was just going to say, I think T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Javon Hargrave, and Mel Ingram, I want to say, had the top. We're in the top 5 for pressures this week. It's like a lot of the Steelers have pretty good taste in guys rushing the passer, apparently. But I find that since you picked both FC, I find that the Rams Indy game interesting. That the line is interesting. It's one of those lines that if you believe in the voodoo of the odds makers, where they're trying to make you, feel some way about this game by taking, by Indianapolis only actually being a favorite in the game against the Rams, who looked, pretty good. But I think I'm going to go the other way. I think this is Indianapolis's game to be their better part of their inconsistency with Carson Wentz.
Someone's going to have to win the AFC South, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the Rams, the Chicago Bears were in with Andy Dalton were pretty much in that game. It was a 1-score game with like 20 minutes left in the game or something. So I kind of feel like I'm not sure the Rams are really that impressive in their victory, because I think the Bears are sort of a mess right now. So I believe Indianapolis is better than the Bears. That makes me feel like this is going to be a close game. That maybe Indy can get a spark and win a game. So anyway, that's it for your illustrious pick segment. We got 2 college games and picked 4 pro games in like 10 minutes. That was amazing. Good job. Good job to my cohorts. All right. But now it's time for our 5-star matchup. It's a 5-star matchup because the Steelers are in it. The Las Vegas Raiders. See, I have to be careful to say that because it's so tempting to want to say something else. Coming to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers are a 6-point favorite over the Raiders. Steelers are a team that, might not score 6 points against the Raiders. So I'm not sure how we feel about all that. But Jeremy, I'm going to start with you. What do you like to happen? What do you think will happen in this game?
I think Pittsburgh wins something along the lines of 27-13. I think the Raiders are going to really struggle with our defense, especially with so many backup offensive linemen in. I mean, the Raiders had a ton of penalties at home along the offensive line, false starts, holdings. If they did that against Baltimore, I think they're going to have a real trouble with our defense, and I think that's just going to hold them back too much. And I think Pittsburgh is going to try to attack that defense vertically, like I've already said previously. I like them 27-10, 27-13, something like that.
Hey, Perch, how about you?
Well, the Raiders gave up the most yards in the NFL in Week 1. I'm currently sitting here on my couch watching Daniel Jones and Tyler Heineke throw the fucking ball downfield.
I'm not listening, as you know. I like to watch this game later. but yeah,
I'm not giving anything away.
It's true. You're not. That's true. You're not.
Except for the little bit on Troy Apke before the podcast started. But anyway, our offense it gives me the hives. I can't watch it. It's painful. It's really not enough. It's brutal. I mean, nothing downfield. Until we get down 10 points or it's the second half, the offense never just lets loose. I think this week's going to tell us a lot on that side of the ball about how the season's going to go. At some point, we got to open the offense up and attack people and throw the ball down the fucking field and not everything misdirection and throwing it behind the line and wide receiver screens. And it was the same stuff as last year, just a little bit of lipstick thrown on it. Either they don't trust their line or they don't trust Ben's arm. I don't know which it is, but I can't watch it anymore. Anyway, that's enough of my rant. The Steelers are going to win comfortably 23-20.
FC, how about you?
I like the Steelers to win this game 27-9. I have a sneaky feeling that I'm very happy that Marcus Mariota is going to be out. That Nathan Peterman's going to make an appearance in this game. I don't think they're going to be able to keep David Carr upright. And I will close with David Carr's brother listed David Carr as the 3rd best quarterback in the NFL. Now, whatever he's smoking, trust me, I want some.
I'll say this, David. I thought that Derek Carr, right? He's the one playing now. David was the other one, right? That Derek Carr probably played the best game I've ever seen him play on Monday night. So it's not, he's not terrible. Like, do I think he's better than Kirk Cousins? Yes.
But if you saw how many hits David Carr took down in Houston, you would know what the hell's wrong with him.
That part is true. And as to the Steelers' offense being painful to watch, and being completely risk averse, I just like to say this: if Mike Tomlin had been the Queen of Spain, Columbus would never have discovered America. It's not his thing to be taking chances like throwing 8 yards downfield until it's proven that the regular game plan is not working. I really think the way their defense plays, that they try to like tread water for a little while until their defense scores or gives them field position. It's hard to believe that somebody in this day and age of the NFL would operate that way, but the evidence seems to be accruing that is really what happens. I think you guys remember when Trent Brown played was Trent Brown, right? Who's the guy that no, not Trent Brown. It was a left tackle for the Houston Texans that was a top draft pick. Say again? No, Dwayne Brown. Yeah. Dwayne Brown's first game in the NFL. He played up against a guy named James Harrison in the Steelers home opener. And it was not a good day to make your home debut. What's that?
Willie Parker was over
Willie
200.
Parker had a big day, and Chemo, I'm gonna eat you. Allowed Mario Williams to run free and separate Ben's shoulder that derailed his whole season. So let's hope we don't have a repeat of that. But I think this is the week. I've said all of that. I think this is a moment where the Steelers will actually open up the offense a little bit. I think they feel more comfortable doing that at home than they do on the road. They play a little less conservatively at home. And I think they're kind of itching to put some stuff on tape that will get people out of the box and get them thinking about something other than, the Steelers' short passing game. So I think we might see some more effective, more stick-to-itiveness as far as the run is concerned and some play-action shots. And I think the Steelers might score some points in this game, like turn back the clock kind of scoring points. I'll make it 38-17 for the Steelers in this game. It's going to sound crazy because this team could barely score 16 last week, but it's a week-to-week league, somebody reminded me. And speaking of that person, Perch, last word from you.
2-0, baby. Just win.
That's right, especially this week with the spirit of Al hanging over the game. Jeremy, last word.
Kind of like you said, put in some play action this week. It was the big noise all offseason. Don't felt like we saw it much last week. Let's see it.
Yep, a little bit, but it seemed to be almost like perfunctory, not really committing.
Yeah, not like true play action. No bootleg. No, let's see something.
Let's see it. FC, last word.
Don't be afraid to be great. Simple. Don't be afraid to be great. Don't coach fearfully.
Do you think Mike's listening to the show? FC, I'm just asking. I hope so. I would like to think, maybe once in a while he's like, oh, let's listen to this thing this week. These assholes, we'll see what they have to say. And that would be an amazing revelation to find out that he even actually listened to it for like 2 seconds. But anyway. What's that?
He'd probably be swearing at us. What do you mean my offense is sleeping out? Don't be afraid to be great. Don't live in your fears.
Yeah, you can make fun of me being risk averse
down the field.
But you
I actually, how about this? Your first 3 plays, how about you vertically try to throw the ball to each one of your wide receivers?
I like that. And if they're not open, dump it to Najee and see what he can do. Right? I like it. I like it a lot. My last word is we want to malign Eric Ebron, but there's something about that the threatening the seam for a tight end that really opens things up for the offense. You could see it after they connected with Ebron in this last game, and they did it again with Freiermuth. Those plays actually were really important plays in the course of the game because the defense has to respect that. And that means your linebackers are backing up rather than sitting on the short routes, and the run game gives you a little bit more room. So don't forget about the tight ends in the slot. Both tight ends, maybe all 3 tight ends. Bring them all out. Run them all at one time. Gentlemen, that's us. We got the 3 tight ends set here. Thank you again to Jeremy Kohlman from the Extra Point on 8:30 KLA in Denver at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. There's a lot of AMs involved there. To FC, SteelPerch, and everyone at Steeler Fury, I am Bradshaw the Band, Accidental Zen, also Wil Masisak, saying, let's talk next week after a gigantic Steelers victory, and go get them, Steelers.
How about
Steeler Fury.